So, today we're going to talk about the vestibular and auditory system, and this is just the basic overview. Okay, we're going to put everything together so you have a feel for where everything is. And this is looking down at a person's head. Okay, these are ears, and this is a nose coming forward. So we're just going to draw the vestibular and auditory systems in here. Start from the ears. Coming here, there's a little hole to on the outside of your ear, or the inside of your ear. Does anybody remember what that is? Yep, this is called your external auditory meatus. Okay, popular landmark for cervical flexion and extension. Do you remember way back to CP1? And that's where we're going to start. The next piece connected to the external auditory meatus coming in is going to be the ear canal. This is the ear canal. Here. Just a little bit of a cranial nerve review. What cranial nerve innervates or receives sensation for the ear, the external ear? Anybody remember? External ear for cranial nerve number 5. How about the ear canal? Yeah, that's going to be 7. Okay, so this is the ear canal. Ear canal, the sensory, general sensory for the ear canal is cranial nerve number 7. Okay, coming off of the ear canal, you have something called your middle ear. Okay, what cranial nerve is responsible for general sensory for the middle ear? Anybody? Crickets. Okay, cranial nerve 9. Cranial nerve 9. General sensory for middle ear. Cranial nerve 9. Coming off of the middle ear, now we're going to start with the bony part. Okay, this is going to be your inner ear proper. Coming off of the middle ear, there's something that, keep turning it, there's something that I'm going to depict as a box. Okay, I'm going to try and draw a box in 3 dimensions. Okay, I like to depict it as a box because it'll help you see the semicircular canals that come off of this box. Okay, so draw just a box in 3 dimensions. Okay, there's one on the right side and there's going to be one on the left side. Like I said, this box is made of bone. Okay. The name of the box is called the vestibule. It's a bony structure. V-E-S-T-I-B-U-L-E. The vestibule is nothing more than a bony structure that houses other sensory organs we're going to talk about here in a minute. It houses the sensory organs that detect forward and back motion and up and down motion. That's a vestibule. It's made of bone. One on the left and one on the right. Okay, coming off the vestibule, coming off the front part of the vestibule is going to be your organ for hearing. Your organ for hearing kind of looks like a little snail shell. If I had to draw it like this. Okay. Okay, your sensory organ for hearing is known as the cochlea. C-O-C-H-L-E-A. Okay, so you have your external auditory meatus, then you have your ear canal, your middle ear, and then that connects to your inner ear. Your inner ear is composed of two main parts. There's the organ for hearing, which is the cochlea, and then there's the vestibular apparatus. Okay, the vestibular, all this is bony structure. The vestibular apparatus, the main part that connects to the middle ear, is known as the vestibule. In addition to the vestibule, you have three semicircular canals, and that's what those things are. The models up front have the three semicircular canals. And I like to show the box because there is one semicircular canal that comes off the side of the box. So if this is going to be the side, the side closest to the ear, it comes off the side of the box and goes around and connects to the back of the box. Okay, and there's one on each side. So it comes off the side of the box, goes around and connects to the back of the box. Okay, this thing has a couple of names. They both mean the same thing. This is either, and because it's very lateral, it's a lateral or horizontal canal. Okay, one on each side. And it's going to be the job, because of the orientation and the position of the horizontal canal or lateral canal, its main job is to detect motion of the head shaking your head no. Okay, so just you can imagine that the canal is right here. When I shake my head no, it receives that information for me. Okay, we'll talk more about that later. Okay, another semicircular canal that you need to be aware of. This one has two names also. It's either the anterior or superior semicircular canal. So it comes off, it's anterior or superior, so it comes off the top of the box, okay, and then it goes around and isn't going to connect to anything quite yet. Okay, so it comes off anterior or superior, it comes off the top of the box and comes around right there. This is your anterior or superior semicircular canal. Okay, one on left and right. And then finally, last but not least, you have another canal that comes off the back of the box, connects up with the anterior canal, and then hooks back up to the back of the box. So it comes off the back of the box, hooks back up here, and then reconnects to the back of the box. And this one, since it comes off the back of the box, is the posterior canal. That's your posterior semicircular canal. Okay, yes, Hannah.
What was the last one that connects to the side to the back, or the
So
opposed to?
the posterior semicircular canal comes off the back of the box and then connects back to the back of the box.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's hard to see, but and you'll see more detail later. This is kind of the big overview. But in general, you should know that and the semicircular canals are again all made of bone. Okay, so this is part of the bony labyrinth. So you have the vestibule, which houses the sensory organs for forward and backward motion and up and down motion. And then you have these three semicircular canals that sense head movement in three-dimensional space. It's either yes or no, or, I mean, it's either up or down or left or right. I'm getting busy doing it. In general, the two horizontal canals work in tandem. They work together. Okay, and the anterior canal from one side works with the posterior canal from the other side. So that detects forward and back motion. Okay. Questions? General overview. Okay, well, these are all the players. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, the next thing that we're going to draw is going to zoom right down in just on this structure. Okay, we're going to leave out the ears, but we're going to zoom right into here. Okay, and that's when I say inner ear structures. right here. These are your inner ear structures. So let's go ahead and label some of these things. And so to start with, here's your box. Okay, this is the bony box that I talked about. It's the big square. And that's, what's that called again? Vestibule. This is your vestibule. Okay, vestibule is going to be a major part. And then coming off the very front part of the box here, this is going to be the organ that's involved in hearing. Does anybody remember what that's called? That's your cochlea. Good. Okay, and then you have this one semicircular canal that comes off the side of the box and connects back to the back of the box. Does anybody remember what that one's called? Right, you can say lateral or horizontal canal. Okay, it's lateral because it's coming off the lateral side. And then there's another semicircular canal that comes off the top of the box and connects back. That one's going to be your anterior or superior canal, semicircular canal. Okay, and then the last one comes off the back of the box, directly opposite the cochlea, and then it connects up with the anterior canal and re-enters into the back of the box, and this is going to be your posterior canal. Okay, so a little review: cochlea, vestibule, 3 semicircular canals, anterior, horizontal or lateral, and posterior canals. And there's something unusual. Like, all this is structure. Okay, this whole thing is a bone. This is all a bony structure. So this is going to say, let's call this the bony labyrinth. L-A-B-R-Y, labyrinth, R-I-N-T-H. Okay, so it's a bony labyrinth. It's all made of bone. Okay, the vestibular system is so important. Not only is it inside your skull, which is really hard bone, it also is encased in its own bone. Really important to keep that vestibular system intact and working for you to function. Okay, so all this, all the things that you see here are bone. Something weird about the semicircular canals, or not weird, but they have their own sensory organs, and they're housed in this kind of bubble. So anytime you see a bubble, that's the part that actually connects back to the vestibule. That little bubble that comes off of the semicircular canal connected to the vestibule is where the sensory organs are housed, and this bubble is known as an ampulla. A-M-P-U-L-L-A. Okay, so the ampulla is nothing more than that part of the semicircular canal where the sensory organ is located. It's pretty visible because it's a big old bulge in the canal. Yes?
How do you spell the
Labyrinth. So I think it's L-A-B-Y-R-I-N-T-H. Labyrinth, however you spell labyrinth. That's like somebody has a better spelling for me than, let's see, do I have it? Yeah. L-A-B-Y-R-I-N-T-H. Labyrinth. Okay, that whole thing is bony labyrinth. Labyrinth meaning maze. Okay, any other questions about what you see? So this is bone, bony structure, right? Inside the bone, there's a membranous structure. And I'm going to draw that membranous structure here in a green color. And what you see is inside the cochlea, there's a membrane that exists here. So this is inside. So I'm just going to draw the membrane that's inside here. Okay. Okay. And then there's lining the ampulla and lining all the semicircular canals, there's just a membranous structure. Okay? It's kind of like, think about it like a garden hose or something inside the bone. Okay, and all this just connects up together. I'm just drawing here, this is just a membrane that connects everything together. Okay, all this membranous structure is lining the semicircular canals. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's just a membranous structure that's lining the semicircular canals, and it connects everything. It's even connected to the cochlea here. So just kind of a big membrane. Okay, I keep saying the word membrane, and this membranous structure is actually the membranous labyrinth. So it's the name for this entire thing. So you have the bony labyrinth, which is the bone on the outside, and inside the bone is a membranous labyrinth. L-A-B-Y-R-I-N-T-H. Okay, so you have your bony labyrinth, and you have your membranous labyrinth, which is nothing more than the membrane right inside the bone. And another important word that you want to remember is inside the membranous labyrinth, it's fluid filled. Okay, so this is the membranous labyrinth, and inside here, inside all of this green is called endolymph. E-N-D-O-L-Y-M-P-H, and that's nothing more than the fluid inside the membrane. It's just fluid. Okay, so the endolymph is just fluid floating inside the membrane. Questions about that? I'm looking at it. There's also, I mentioned before, there's also two more sensory organs. So each of these sensory organs for every semicircular canal has a sensory organ that's inside the ampulla. Okay, so there's three here. But inside the vestibule, inside this fluid, there's also two other sensory organs that are going to be responsible for detecting forward and back motion and up and down motion. Let's see if I can, there's a gray. Okay, let me just draw those in here. So two different organs. Okay, there's going to be one that's a little bit closer to the cochlea. Okay, and then there's going to be one that's right behind it. The one that is the membranous structure, the sensory organ, inside the vestibule, the one closest to the cochlea is known as the saccule, S-A-C-C-U-L-E. Okay, and the one furthest away is known as the utricle, U-T-R-I-C-L-E. I remember that because they're in alphabetical order. So if you start with the cochlea, that's C, next in line is S, saccule, and then right behind that is going to be your utricle. Okay, it's going to be the job of the saccule and the utricle to detect forward and back and up and down motion. We'll talk about that in a minute, and how that actually happens. Questions? Get caught up? Not yet. Okay. So, Vestibular apparatus. This is it. Part of your inner ear. The vestibular, it's composed of the vestibule as well as the 3 semicircular canals. And then the organ of hearing is attached to the front of the vestibule. That's called your cochlea. This whole structure has a bony labyrinth. That's the outside hard shell. It's located inside your skull. So it's got a double bony protection. It also has a membranous labyrinth. So all that bone is lined with a membrane. That membrane is filled with fluid. It's called the endolymph. Okay, looks like everybody's caught up. All right, let's move on. Now we'll look at what I'm doing now is the next picture is going to be looking at right in here. I'm going to zoom in on the saccule in the utricle, right in this area here. Okay, so we're going to look at specifically the saccule and the utricle sensory organs. Okay. So this again is your box. So this is your vestibule. Okay, some bony structure. Okay. To give you a little bit of an orientation, if you go in this direction, this connects to the cochlea. And then in this direction, you're just connecting to a semicircular canal. And then this is also connected to a semicircular canal. Everybody see where we are? Visualize that? All right, so like I said, the sensory organ that's closest to the cochlea is known as your saccule, S-A-C-C-U-L-E. The one that's furthest away from the cochlea is known as your utricle. Good. This is where I like to make some analogies for you so that you understand what I'm trying to draw there in 3 dimensions. You can think of both the saccule and the utricle as like a 6-foot above ground swimming pool. You know that structure that just sits there on the ground and then comes up? Well, these are, I'm trying to draw these as walls. So this would be the bottom of the swimming pool here. This would be the walls of the pool all the way around, and same here. So this would be the bottom of the pool, and this would be the walls of the pool. Does everybody see that? So just drawing a structure that's sitting up. All right. Now, the first thing that we're going to draw is going to be the sensory organs in the utricle. Okay. To draw the sensory organs for the utricle, we can start with the sensory organ for the utricle exists on the bottom of the pool here. Okay, so I'm drawing it on the bottom of the pool. Start with this. And it's really a bunch of cells that are tall in shape, so columnar shaped cells. Okay, I'm trying to draw them. What I've drawn is just a series of cells here that are kind of tall in shape in roughly 3 dimensions. Okay. These cells have a very specific name. They're called hair cells, H-A-I-R. Okay, the hair cells all have axons coming out of them. Okay, and all these, the axon comes out the bottom of the hair cell. Okay, so if you can just Draw these axons all coming together. And all these axons join together to create part of the vestibular portion of cranial nerve 8, which is the vestibular cochlear, right? So that's vestibular portion of cranial nerve 8 coming out of the hair cells on the bottom. Okay. In addition to the hair cells, you also have a gelatinous matrix over top of the hair cells. So if you can imagine, the hair cells are just like columns of cells sitting here on the floor of the pool. They're just columns of cells, and over top there's a jello. Okay, so just a jello mold right over top. See if I can draw that. So if you just imagine right on top here, there's going to be this jello-like mold. Jello mold over top of the. Okay, so this is just gelatinous matrix. Put that in here. Okay, so there's just first layer. It's going to be a gelatinous matrix. And then coming out of each of the hair cells on the top that is embedded into the gelatinous matrix is going to be a cilia. So I'm going to represent that as just coming up and it's sticking up here into the gelatinous matrix. Okay, and it's coming from each of the hair cells. And these are just hairs or cilia, C-I-L-I-A. And cilia are coming out of the top of the hair cells and just they're embedded in the gelatinous matrix. Okay, so you have these cells here, and out of the top of the cells there's individual hairs coming up, are known as cilia. The cilia are embedded in this bubble of jello, a layer of jello, and then on top of the layer of jello there's calcium carbonate crystals. Okay, calcium carbonate crystals, and I'm just going to represent those as like little brown dots here. Okay, on top of the jello, it's actually for the most part, it's embedded in the jello, but sometimes those calcium carbonate crystals fall off and they cause problems. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But these calcium carbonate crystals have a special name. They're called otoconia, O-T-O-C-O-N-I-A. And the otoconia are nothing more than calcium carbonate crystals. So you have hair cells, cilia, yes, Jordan.
These crystals are like vertigo, I assume, but the orientation is the anterior, posterior, lateral that they fall into. Can't they fall into like a lateral canal? That's the type of vertigo versus posterior canal.
That's GPPP, we'll get there. Yes, so you want to know the most common canal that they fall into?
Well, not the most common, but if I'm looking at this image, whether I'm looking at my slides, how do I orient myself to the body?
So this is it honestly would depend on, so if I put the cochlea up there and then this is to a semicircular canal, you can imagine that this would be the horizontal canal here and then that would be the posterior canal there. Is that what you're asking? Okay. But if you realize that would mean this is from the right ear. Because if it were the left ear, this would be over there. The horizontal canal comes off the side. Okay, so that's, we'll talk about that in a minute, and that's the otoconia can cause a specific kind of dizziness called BPPV, and that's where that comes from. Okay. Other questions about this? Okay, so this whole thing, the hair cells with the hairs, the cilia sticking up into the gelatinous matrix or the jello mold, and then on top of the jello mold you have these calcium carbonate crystals that are kind of embedded, but sometimes they can fall off and cause other problems. This is the main sensory organ for the utricle. Okay, the main sensory organ has a very specific name. Okay, the main sensory, so let me write that down, put it in green. So here you go. This is this whole structure, what the jello, the otoconia, and the hair cells all together is the main sensory organ that you're going to find in both the utricle and the saccule. Okay, it has a very specific name. It's called the macula. M-A-C-U-L-A. Kind of like Dracula, but macula. Okay, it's a macula. The macula is the main sensory organ. Okay, the utricle and the saccule have macula as their main sensory organ. So, like I said, the utricle I like to draw first, and the macula is on the floor of that pool. Does the utricle detect up and down motion or forward and back motion? Forward and back or side to side? What do you think? Somebody. Why? Why would you say both? Why would you say up and down? Tell me why. So you have, imagine you have these hair cells that are sticking up, and you've got this jello, and you've got something heavy on top of the jello. And in order for the organ to detect motion, it has to move the hair cell in some way. It has to move the cilia in some way. How about forward and back, side to side, up and down? What happens if I jump up and down? Am I going to move the hair cells? No. But if I walk forward or if I walk backward, to see how that jello could cause, and the otoconia can pull back and forth in this direction, it's going to kind of go forward and backward kind of motion, and it's going to cause the hair cell, once the hair cell moves, it causes depolarization, okay, and activation of that side. Kind of an important thing. So the utricle is, because it's on the floor of the pool, is going to be responsible for detecting forward and back or side to side motion. Spencer?
I was just about to ask, could it also be side to side?
Could be side to side or forward to back. Yep. Now, that's very different than the saccule. Okay, the saccule is going to detect up and down motion. Tell me, where is the macula going to be positioned on the saccule? It's going to wall the pool, right? It's going to sit on the wall of the pool. Does everybody see that? So if it's sitting on the wall of the pool on the side, as I go up and down, think about being in an elevator. You know how you can sense if you're going up and down? That's the job of the utricle. Or if I'm jumping up and down, if it's on the wall of the pool, I'm going to bend the cilia because the gravity is going to take care of because the otoconia are heavy. Does everybody see that? So same thing, for the saccule, it's exactly the same sensory organ, but it's going to be positioned on the wall of the pool. So if I can draw that, then draw it here. Okay. So same sensory organ, these are my hair cells, but the hair cells are now on the wall of the pool. And coming out of the bottom of the hair cells, they're going to be the axons that are going to hook up with the vestibular portion of the 8th cranial nerve, right? Same thing, but on the other side. Okay, so on top of the macula is going to be this gelatin. So coming out of each of those cells is going to be a small cilia or hair poking up. And that's poking up into a gelatinous matrix. Okay, there's going to be the jello mold here on top. going to do that in 3 dimensions. So that's going to be your gelatinous matrix. And on top of that is going to be the otoconia. The otoconia give the system some weight so that when gravity or when the otoconia encounter gravity, it's going to cause deflection of the hair cells, which means that motion was detected in up and down direction. Yes, that's
Is it correct to say we're looking at superior view?
yeah, you can think about it that way. You're looking down on the system. Yep, looking down on the system. Most important thing to realize is that the macula, the sensory organ, for the utricle is on the floor of the pool, and for the saccula it's on the side of the pool. Because of the difference in location, they're going to be able to detect 2 different motions. So the saccula is responsible for up and down motion, and the utricle is responsible for side-side or forward and back motion. Okay. Questions? Yes,
So
Ian.
the gelatinous matrix is on top of the hair cells?
Yep, so what you have the hair cell on the bottom, and the hair cell has a little cilia that's sticking up. Embedding the hair cells, or the gelatinous matrix is on top of that, and embedding the hair into the jello. Okay? That means the jello is kind of this loosely moving thing. With the otoconia on top, then the weight of the otoconia as gravity or inertia happens in a forward and back motion is going to move the jello and cause the hair cell to deflect, causing depolarization. Yes, so the function of the crystals is to add some weight to the system to allow motion to be detected. So forward and back is going to be more inertial, right? And then up and down is going to be gravity. So on the side of the pool, here, if you're standing upright, those cilia should deflect because of the effect of gravity. But if you're lying on your back, there's no change with the saccula. Understand? Okay, the calcium carbonate crystals are actually, they're fully dissolvable. Realize that whole system is filled with that indolent fluid. The calcium carbonate is fully dissolvable, so they actually dissolve and reform over time. We'll talk about that with BPPV. Any other questions? Yes.
Just so I can visualize better, for like both these sensory organs, is I guess for the one in the utricle, is that running like the entire bottom of the pool, or is it just like dead middle?
I don't know.
Okay.
There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just the one.
Yeah, I just try and make things really simple.
Okay.
Yeah, as much as I can. Okay. Other questions about this? Okay. So next, let's go ahead and go to the semicircular canal sensory organ. Okay. And what I've done here is I've chosen to represent this this is the horizontal canal, okay? So this is the right horizontal canal, and here's the left horizontal canal. And to make that easier to see, I'm just going to separate them by a dotted line. So we'll label this as, these are both horizontal canals. Okay, right and left horizontal canals. Okay, so these are sticking off the sides of the vestibule on the right and the left sides. And realize that there's an opening here. This opening here on both the right and the left sides. This leads to the vestibule for both of them. Right, so remember the horizontal canal, that ampulla is attached to the vestibule. The vestibule would be positioned right here on the right side and right here on the left side. Does everybody see where I am? Got it? Okay. Now, thinking about what we saw previously, if you remember, this is the bony portion. The bony labyrinth is on the outside. But lining each horizontal canal, we have this membranous labyrinth as well. So let's go ahead and draw the membranous labyrinth in, lining this bony bubble here. I'll even label that. That's the ampulla. That's your bony bubble where the sensory organ is. Okay. And then coming down here, have your membranous labyrinth. Okay. Okay. And we can do that for both the right and the left sides. So all you're doing is just drawing in your membranous labyrinth inside your semicircular canals. All around the canal portion and the ampulla, which houses the sensory organ. Okay, everybody with me? We've done this a couple times before, just trying to make sure everybody's oriented. Now, inside the semicircular, inside this ampulla, I've said over and over, this is where the sensory organ is located. Okay, the sensory organ looks similar in that you have hair cells sticking up here. Both sides, so you have these hair cells sticking up, and out of the bottom of the hair cells comes the 8th cranial nerve, axons that come together to form the 8th cranial nerve, or the vestibular portion of the 8th cranial nerve 8 on both sides. So this is left and right, so this will be the left and then this is going to be the right vestibular portion of cranial nerve 8. Everybody got that? We good? Okay, let's take a 10-minute break and regroup.